All right, good evening, all. You're welcome to our today's class. Today, we'll take a look at the course Principles of Farmers Technician Practice, PTP 111. All right, Principles of Farmers Technician Practice is a course that we have the one offered in 100 level and the one offered in the 300 level. The one in 100 level first semester is PTP 111, while the one offered in the 300 level second semester is PTP 312. In your pre-certification examination for the qualification of farmers technician, that is your licensing examination after your second semester 300 level, PTP Principles of Farmers Technician Practice is one of the courses that you will write in the exam, and questions will be selected from both your first year work and your final year work. That is from both PTP 3111 and PTP 312. So you take this course very seriously. It's very important. Here we look at what farmers technician practice is all about. Of course, you can't talk of pharmacy technician practice without talking about pharmacy practice, because pharmacy technicians are there to assist pharmacists. They work under the supervision of a registered pharmacist. Okay, so it's very important we understand this. Very important. Okay. So in that exam, two of the questions will come from the two of them, PTP 111 and PTP 312. All right, so this is your first time of seeing this course, so we'll start from the scratch. And actually, this course is a 2 credit unit course. It's a 2 credit unit course. I told you before now, I've introduced myself to you. My name is Pharmacist Emmanuel Chetanna, and I will be taking you on PTP 111, BDT 152, and the BDT 151. Yes. So these are the courses I'm going to take you in this first year. So for now, for this particular course, we are in PTP 111. That's what we have today. So without wasting time, I want to go over to the topic of today. Today we'll look at the history of pharmacy. History of pharmacy. So we want to start from the history of pharmacy. So that is the evolution of pharmacy. So actually, before now, man has been busy observing the animal kingdom, and man has actually observed that animals depend on nature for everything. Animals, we are higher animals, so we ask whatever we ask from the nature gives us. We ask for food, the nature gives us food, gave us food. We ask for clothes, nature gave us clothes. We ask for energy, and the nature gave us energy. Please put your video, please. I like seeing the video of my students. Let me know what they are doing. Please put on your video and switch on your mic. You only put your mic on when you want to ask a question. All right, please do that immediately, please. Are you media, please? You're welcome. All right, so man asked for medicine from nature, and nature provided medicines. Everywhere you go, both in plants, when you talk of nature, plant is there, minerals, There are different sources of drugs that are natural from nature. So whatever man asks from the nature provided. In fact, you cannot talk of human civilization without talking about pharmacy. Pharmacy is as old as human civilization. As at in those ancient period, you may not have it as a name pharmacy, but pharmacy has been there because man has been sourcing for medicine from drugs from herbs, from other animals, from the soil, from different sources. So man was actually practicing pharmacy without even knowing that it's pharmacy he was practicing. So pharmacy is as old as human civilization. All right, so without wasting time, let us now look at what pharmacy looked like in the beginning. So we look at the beginning of pharmacy. Let's look at the beginning of pharmacy. So pharmacy has a very, very long history. Very long history. Different fossils from plants, especially plants with medicinal properties have been actually found during the in the with the remains of the Neanderthals, that is ancient humans. So it indicates that early man, ancient man used these plants as drugs. This what I'm talking about is around 50,000 BC. Ancient man, Neanderthals, have been using these plants from the fossil that shows the remains of this ancient man, shows that man has been using plants as medicine as at 50,000 BC. And it's worth noting that the first prescription was actually authenticated. And the first prescription was actually authenticated and made available now in the British Museum. This prescription dated as far back as 3700 BC. So we can actually say that the first prescription started as around 3700 BC. That's the point I'm trying to make. And when you talk of in terms of the preparation of drugs now, the first earliest record of drug preparation was around 2600 BC in Babylon, from Babylon, as at 2600 BC. In fact, around 2000 to 1500 BC, during the Sumerian times, pharmacy was recognized as part of medical practice. Between 2000 to 1500 BC in the Sumerian times. Now, let's look at the personnel. Early pharmacies, even though yes, they were not known as pharmacists, called pharmacists, but they were taken as the early pharmacists came around 400 BC in the person of people like Diocles of Carestus. And Diocles of Carestus was a member of a particular group of people, medical experts, that are specialized on using medicinal plants, using plants for drugs, for medicines. This group of specialized medical experts are known as rhizotomoi, RHIZOTOMOI. These are just a special branch of medical experts that they are focused was on use of what? Medicinal plant. Just as we have today in the health sector, we have a specialized part of members of the health sector that are involved in the what? That are known as drug experts. And those special group of health care professionals that are known as drug experts today are known as what? Pharmacists. So those days, as at that time, during around that 400 BC, they are known. That group are known as what? Rhizotomoi. Rhizotomoi. Now, aside the Diocles of Caristos, we also have Pendanus Dioscorides. Pendanus Dioscorides. This person wrote a 5-volume work, and this work he titled it De Materia Medica. De Materia Medica. And this means, what it means is, if you translate it to English, it means concerning medicinal substances. So it's a 5-volume, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3 work, comprehensive work, but it's all about medicinal substances. That's how I put it. Now, and this volume, this work was actually used as source of pharmaceutical medicines in Europe, in medieval Europe and the Islamic world. As at that time, we are talking about 400 BC now. Now, let's look at the pharmacy in ancient Egypt, what it looked like. Let's look at pharmacy in ancient Egypt, what it looked like. We are looking at the history of pharmacy. For those that joined lately, we are looking at the history of pharmacy. That's what we are looking at. History of pharmacy. So let's look at history of pharmacy in ancient Egypt. That's Kemet. In ancient Egypt. So let's look at history of pharmacy in ancient Egypt. Okay. Now, hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Huh?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
All right, good. So in ancient Egypt, history of pharmacy can be traced. In fact, you can trace the history of pharmacy and pharmacy, all the pharmaceutical preparations from the time of the pharaohs of Egypt to the present day. And if you trace it, there are a series of Egyptian documents that is so clear that that ancient Egypt has a very long history with respect to pharmacy. And these documents, the most popular of them, or very popular, is the one we call Kahun Papyrus. Kahun Papyrus. Kahun Papyrus. Kahun Papyrus. This one dates as of 2000 BC.
Sir, please spell it again.
Kahun,
K-A.
Kahun. Then papyrus, Papyrus. Papyrus. This we are talking about around 2000 BC, and it dealt mainly with what? Veterinary medicines. Then one thing about this Kahun papyrus is that is a medical prescription that is written in Egyptian writing, archaic Egyptian writing, and it concentrated more for on the treatment of problems, those that problems that has to do with the urinary systems, the blood, hair, and the different types of bites. And in fact, in your practice, you must have seen a lot of some books, formularies, or even some reference books that contains formula. If you okay, you must not. I don't think you come across that one. You must have seen index, but that one is there. I'm talking about things like formula books, like BPC. We still do in your ability 151. We'll do reference books. So I will throw more light on that. When you do reference books, you see things like BPC, British Pharmaceutical Codex. You see things like um, different pharmacopoeias, which British pharmacopoeia is one of them. We have different pharmacopoeia. We have Japanese pharmacopoeia. There are many of them. This book, this formula book, contains formula for different preparations of medicine. When we say formula, it's not the formula in your mathematics. It's a formula that contains names of ingredients for a particular medicine, for a particular preparation or medicine, ingredients that will be used to prepare that particular what medicine. That's what we mean by what formula. And their individual amount, the quantity you need to prepare them than the ones those that are the active ingredients and those that are excipients. In ability 151 we'll discuss what we mean by active ingredient and what we mean by what excipient. Are we together now? So the point I'm trying to make is that the papyrus contains medical prescriptions that are written in what hieratic Egyptian writing, and it concentrate more on the urinary system, blood, and the hair and bites, disease that has to do with all this part of the body. Now, but the point I'm trying to make that led me to mentioning the reference book is that this papyrus actually it corresponds it just the same thing as what we have in today's BPC or pharmacopoeia. What they had that time was papyrus, carbon papyrus. It's certain as these reference books we have today. And this papyrus has a lot of recipes that used for recipe for the compounding of different preparations. In fact, in it we have up to 700 drugs mentioned in this document. Up to 700 drugs mentioned in this document. And some of them are still in use today, while some are lost. Now, in this Tahoe papyrus, some of the drugs of preparation that we are mentioned are things like wine, you see wine, beer, yeast, vinegar, turpentine, figs, castor oil. These are some of the drugs of preparation that we are mentioned in this papyrus. Now, apart from these ones I mentioned, we also have mineral drugs that came from mineral origin. Things like iron, lead, bitumen, magnesia, copper sulfate, common salt, the salt, not your normal salt, so that is sodium chloride, right? Then other minerals. Apart from the vegetable drugs or products, minerals I've mentioned, we also have precious stones. Precious stones are also part of it, used as what? Medicine. These precious stones are in powdered form. They are finely divided from powdered form. Examples of such, we have the emeralds, sapphires. These are used in treatment of disease as at that time. So this is the much you can take on ancient What happened in ancient Egyptian distant pharmacy? Now, there is one outstanding symbol. In fact, you see this symbol even in this your practice now. You must have been seeing this symbol that looks like R. Looks like R, and one of the legs of the R is longer, and they cross it. Have you seen this symbol before? If they want to write a prescription, it's something like R, capital R. Then at the end of one of the legs of that R is longer, and they cross it. It looks like X. It looks like RX, right? Yes. In fact, that is the symbol of pharmacy. Anytime you see that symbol, it symbolizes what? Pharmacy. Actually, the symbol in today's prescription, the symbol is we will still do parts of prescription. Parts of prescription in today's world is known as a part of prescription known as superscription. Is a part of prescription known as superscription. Superscription. We will still do it in your ability 151. Okay. Now I just want to talk about the history. Actually, this symbol is, in fact, it is linked to the ancient mythology. It's linked to the ancient mythology, and it actually thought it was thought to actually derive from ancient Egyptian eye symbol known as the Eye of Horus. Eye of Horus. Eye of Horus. Horus. It was thought to have originated from that ancient Egyptian eye symbol known as Eye of Horus. Actually, this Eye of Horus is a symbol of protection. Symbol of protection, royal power, good health, or even Jupiter, god of healing. Have you not seen Helen has entered, right? Helen has entered. So that's where it was thought to have, to have been derived from this. But actually, this symbol was actually, according to Latin, it was actually thought to be an abbreviation for a Latin verb, recipere, recipere, recipere. And if you translate this to English, it means take it, take it. If you want to go to the Shakespearean English, take down. Remember Shakespearean English, take down. But in the current present English is take it. So take it or take down, they're the same thing. That is what that recipere means if you translate it to English. Take it or take down. Take it or take down. In fact, in present day medicine and pharmacy and medical practice, the pharmacy, it becomes the first thing you see apart from the names and the patient and what have you. See it in the prescription, they write it, meaning take down. And in those days, when they were doing this, when extemporaneous, this type of preparation we call extemporaneous preparation. Extemporaneous preparation. Extemporaneous actually that you have the ingredients. You look at if you look at the, thank God you are in your pharmacy now. if you these drugs, this medicine you see on your shelf, this medicine you see on your shelf, these medicines have been, they were prepared in the pharmaceutical firm, packaged like this and sent down to you, right? If a patient comes in with a prescription, all you need to do is to go to the shelf, get the quantity the patient need, do one or two calculations if there will be need for a calculation, and tell the patient on how to use them and package it and give the patients, right? This one now is a type of dispensing we call prefabricated, because it has already been manufactured and packaged. But extemporaneous is that in extemporaneous preparation, you don't have these things in your shelf. What you have is the ingredients. When a prescription comes, you just go look at the prescription. That's where the physician will write it out, meaning that it will list all the whatever you need. You get all the ingredients and formulate them and label and dispense it, and now give to the patient. The patient will now take it home and go and take. So you prepare it there, right there, and give to the patient. And this is the type of dispense they were doing those days. It was during the Industrial Revolution that they started manufacturing medicines like this thing you see in your shelf. In those days, these ancient days, at the time, they were not like this. What they had that time was just a patient comes for treatment, for medicine. They just enter, prepare all things, just as you want to. If you are the type that like Indomie, if you go to where they sell Indomie, would they go to the pot and dish out Indomie to you? They will not. Once you come, they will now open the get the ingredient here, there, within few minutes they prepare Indomie and give you. That's what they were doing. That's what this type of medicine preparation is called extemporaneous. So anytime you hear the term extemporaneous compounding, that's what we mean. Now let's continue. We'll still discuss it in your dispensing class. I just mentioned it because I want to use it to explain what they were doing that time. Are we together? Are we together? All right. So now let's continue. Now, okay, you can leave your mic on. Let me see if I think you are using earpiece, right? You can leave your mic on so you can talk if I ask questions on your mic. Then if there's interference, you can off it. So because if I talk, I want to hear you to be sure that you're following me. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So now,
Okay, sir.
all right. So now, let me go back to what I was saying about the recipere, that is take down. So that is used in beginning of every prescription, and I say that it's a part of prescription known as superscription. Superscription. It's a part of prescription known as superscription. All right. So now, in fact, this is where have you heard of the term? Maybe those in the confectionery industry, those that prepare bakeries and those that prepare snacks. Someone as maybe, do you know how to prepare all those snacks? Okay, okay,
Some, only
okay.
few.
Have you heard somebody ask? Have you ever heard someone asking, maybe someone that prepares snack, please, can you give me your recipe?
And
Eh?
okay,
Have,
sir.
have you ever seen or heard somebody asking another person that bakes or makes snacks, please, can you help me with your recipe? What is your recipe?
Recipe.
Raw recipe, yes. Recipe, yes.
Yes.
That's good. Recipe came from this recipere. Recipe came from what? This recipere. And recipe is composed of list of ingredients used in preparing that particular thing and the direction on how to prepare it. Are we together? So recipe
Yes, sir.
contains the list of ingredients you use. Let's say you want to bake bread, or the list of ingredients you need to bake the bread, and the direction on how to which one to add first, which quantity am I going to add, which one do I add later, how do I turn it, how do I mix it, how do I pour it. All those things are contained in the what? Recipe. Are we together? Recipe. Are we together now? The same thing now, bringing down to move from now from food industry now and come to pharmaceutical industry now. That's why you see, because that time they prepare all those things like that. They prepare it as it hot and it now. That's once you see that symbol take down, they will now list that time. They will now list the ingredients that will needed. Then the physician or the prescriber will now that give directions to the pharmacist on what to do and what not to do. That is exactly what was going on now before they prefabricated. Even till today, some pharmacies still do this extemporaneous what compounding. Even some hospitals still do. Some teaching hospitals still carry on extemporaneous compounding. All right, now let's look at just in few lines. Let's look at what happened in ancient Chinese. Let's look at what happened in ancient Chinese pharmacy in ancient Chinese. The Chinese, the Chinese have what they call punsao, 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 or in English, great harbor. Chinese are they are big in herbs. You are aware, right? This great harbor at that time was an extremely interesting manuscript. In fact, this manuscript had about 150 separate particular herbs. 50, sorry, 150 particular herbs. No, but the remedies that are a lot of remedies are described in the book. Things like you toad eyelids, toad lids.
Yes, sir.
They were using, you know what toad is? Toad eyelids to treat colds, for colds. And they were using earthworms for gastritis. Earthworms that are rolled. A lot of remedies that's contained in this great harbor at that time. The Chinese, in ancient Chinese. Now, I just want to be having an. I'm not going into this, so we can simply finish and be able to go into what we have. The history of pharmacy is long, but just trying to see how far I can go. Let's look at, even though I mentioned Greece before, but let's just look at Greece let us go in deep in ancient Greece. There's something about the Greeks that is notable. There's something I think. Okay, your mic is off now. Please, mic, please off your mic. Off your mic. All right, thank you. Now, the Greeks, they made two important steps. There were two important steps they took. In fact, they made two giant strides, and this was fully documented in the writings and expressed in the writings of Hippocrates. Now, one of the first stride or step they took was that they started looking for natural causes. Off your mic, off your mic, off your mic, off your mic, please. The noise in the background is interfering. Off mic, in the video. Hello? Hello? Your mic. Are you off your mic? So, I said, one of these steps they took was that they started looking for natural causes and effects of diseases. And see now, they are not just talking about herbs. They now start looking at what is the natural, what are causes of this, causes and effect of these diseases talking about. But it's when you know the cause and effect of disease, that's when you can treat that disease. So that's the first giant steps they took. They started looking for natural causes and effects of diseases. Then the second step they took was that they produced the first ever recognized descriptions of diseases and epidemics. The first ever recognized description of disease, because having now discovered the search for the natural causes and effects of this, they now okay, we now describe diseases and their epidemics. Are we together? So that these are the two giant steps taken by the ancient Greeks. Now, a very popular person in the midst of this whole thing is a Greek physician and surgeon known as Galen. Galen, a Greek physician and surgeon, Galen. In fact, Galen has a had a famous medicinal formula. Medicinal that contains up to 64 different ingredients. 64 different ingredients. And in fact, a lot of this formula cured a lot of diseases were being cured, and it also offers antidotes for different poisons. It offers antidotes for different what poisons. Now let's look at India. What happened in ancient India? Now, there in ancient India, they that is an incarnation of what Lord Vishu, that he invent science of medicine in the entire universe, and that he's the one that cures all the ailments of all the diseases that has ever existed. So based on this, they made the difference on the worship of the Hindu medicine. god of medicine, known as Davantari. This Davantari is the original exponent of Indian medicine. So everything is towards the geared towards the mythology of the ancient Indian, believing that science of medicine was invented through Lord Vishnu. But a very important point here, a very important thing they achieve here is what we call Ayurveda is a science life that was practiced by ancient Indians, and is actually one of the oldest scriptures of the Hindus, maybe around 3,000 up to 3,000 old, and believe that one-fifth of the human race practice this Ayurveda even till today. Now, in the there are medical doctors at time, medical doctors and pharmacists that they studied more than 1,000 years thoroughly. People like Karaka and Sruta, Caraka, then Susruta, Susruta. Now, this Ayurveda I made mention of, we are used for different medical purposes. In fact, this Ayurveda even spread to other part of the Asia, other part of Asia. Now, having explained this, what actually happened in the ancient India, and let's look at what happened around 16th, 17th centuries. In fact, let's just look at England. What actually happened in England? That is the British Empire. Look at the evolution of pharmacy in England. That is Great Britain. Let's start Great Britain in all. Actually, so now this will lead us to a term known as apothecary. 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 So now look at apothecaries. Remember what happened in that group of experts that we are called rheumatoid. Those that are medical practitioners are focused on drugs alone, drugs and medicine. They were called what does that were called? Let me see if you are still following me. There was a name I told you they were called.
Rhizotomoi.
You say what?
Rhizotomoi.
Good. You are a good student.
Rhizotomoi.
Now, I said that it just said Chetanna saying pharmacist, but because of that, the name they were called. Now, if you go down to England, around 15th to 17th century, they were known as what? Apothecaries. Have you not seen how the whole thing is changing now? Apothecaries, dissenting, those that are in charge of in those that are experts in drugs and medicine, apothecaries. Now, let me tell you a short story. Those days now, in those era, there are people we call grocers, and there are people we call apothecaries. They work together. Grocers are focused on sale of foods and other small household goods. They are called groceries. You hear of grocery now, grocery shops, right? Grocery shops. Shey you know there is a thin line between herbs. Most herbs that have medicinal properties are also used as foods. Hope you know. You are aware, right? If you are aware, nod your head. Let me know you are following. You are aware, right? Can you hear me? Yes.
Sir.
Most of the herbs that have medicinal
Yes,
property,
sir.
most herbs that have medicinal properties are also used as foods. Now, those days, around that 15, 16, 16, 17 series, the grocers, those that are sell food and household goods, apothecaries, those that are more into drugs, they mixed up, they hand in fact together. But it got a point. It got a point. It, for apothecaries to be on their own came up. In fact, these apothecaries actually person that they prepared and sold medicines and drugs. Now, with time, the development, the science of involved in these apothecaries is experiencing evolution. It keep developing and advancing between 15th and 17th century. Not just Britain alone, no, over the other continent, the need it kept the need was the it was advancing. And time now, the desires. Now after is now that and say we need to be on our own. No. There is need for us to do what? To be on our own. Because of that now, they started looking for how to form their own guild. They started looking for how to form their own of the dispensers as may be. Now, they started looking for authority to be able to achieve that. In 1617, King James first, the King of England at the time, King James the first, King of England, started the apothecaries, what we know known as the royal charter. He granted them royal charter for them to be separated from grocers. Now, grocers will not go, they are separate to start put on a fight. The grocers say no, the apothecaries are going with here. We are together. That they're not going anywhere. So the grocers find possible way best to resist that situation. But the king, as at the time of that resistance, do the king refused to listen to them because he's not professional with what the grocers, pair with apothecaries, because the apothecaries is more of the arts and mysteries. So skills and knowledge very important. So because of that now, the king refused to listen to the what? The grocers. When I say the king, it took years, it took up to 200 years. After more than 100 years, going to 200 years, approximately 200 years. 200 years of arguments and a lot of things. Then in 1815, an Apothecaries Act was enacted in 1815. That is all after up to 200 years. Remember, King James the First gave them the what? Granted for them to separate in 16 what? 16 what? In 1617. The grocer resisted. After 200 years of fight and arguments, in 1815, they were granted an act was established, was enacted, go their way. Do that act of 1815, the apothecaries or dispensers now separated from the what? The grocers. Now, so these apothecaries they practice in, but their focus is was only for to charge for the drugs they supplied. They don't bother about the charge of their advice on patients. Their focus is to charge on only drug supply, in which most of the pharmacies today are still doing. The pharmacists, they will not. So people go to them, ask them about drug. We find sometimes say we don't even remember to charge for consultation. And I am a culprit to that. I can remember when I was in a community practice. I want to say, where do you go? Why do you switch to this thing? I remember when I was still in community practice. Somebody just came to the pharmacy, asked for the pharmacist. He came into my office, asked me one or two things about drugs, and I took like 30 minutes explaining to him a lot of things about drugs. After the explanation, he was so grateful. Do you know what he asked me? He asked me, please, what is what is your consultation fee? I was shocked. That's what I remembered. Hey, it's true, and I should be charging for this. My focus was just on whether he's buying drug or not. So, what point am I trying to make? That this thing has been there since. That the apothecary are not even looking at how much they charge for advice or consultation. Their focus was mainly on the drug they do what? They supply. And at the same time, the physician at that time have no business with dispensing drugs. We at that time was just to look at patients, clerk the patient and take care of the patient, and they be able to diagnose what the patient is suffering from. Are all together? Now, then also some physician, there are some people that we are going beyond their scope, and they actually had issues legally. Now, but the point I'm trying to make is that the outcome of this Apothecaries Act was to clearly define what actually, apart from the issue they had with the grocers, the Apothecaries Act also played a role in streamlining medicine and pharmacy, dividing, make clear that this is medicine, this is what pharmacy, what should those in each of these fields, what they should focus on, even though yes, all are part of what healthcare. So we made it clear because then there were lot of encroachment. You don't know which one. The apothecaries is there. The physicians are. You don't know which is who until this act came up. Then it now have to actually, clear define which one is the role of apothecaries and which one is the role of physicians, medicine and what pharmacy. Are we together? I've spoken more on this, much on these apothecaries. Now let's look at dispensers. Dispensers. Who are these dispensers? Sometimes apothecaries and dispensers are used interchangeably. Now let's look at the dispensers. In those days, what they did, the doctors, the pharmacists at that time, they employed non-professional trained dispensers in hospitals, workhouses, prison to take care of drug-related issues. They migrated from apothecaries to what? Dispensers. And they actually, what one thing this, unlike apothecaries, one thing with this dispenser, they were actually trained. I told you, they are trained. They are trained as assistants. That what they do is to ensure that they compound prescriptions under supervision. Now, around 1815, upwards, the Society of Apothecaries, they offered an assistant examination that verifies candidate compound and dispense drugs under the supervision of an apothecary, pharmacist, or a doctor. Now, if he is becoming formal now, from just informal, he's now becoming formal. They are now writing examination. That means a curriculum was developed for the training, and at the end, that exam starts you. Curriculum have been developed for pharmacy technician, and by the time you are done with the training now, in your third year, you will write your council exam based on the curriculum, based on what you are taught for these 3 years. If you pass, you will be qualified to be given your job permit to practice as a pharmacy technician. And is there to assist a pharmacist. Are we together? Now, this is exactly what was going on at that point in time. Now, another level that came up is the chemist. The chemist in the world of the sometimes people call pharmacists, chemists. So chemist is actually being used interchangeably with what? Pharmacist. But when you talk of chemist, so references to chemist in history, documents in history document, when you talk of chemist in history, it refers to those that are involved in the study of the science of pure chemistry, not pharmacy. So if you go through the history documents, when they say chemists, they talk about those that are involved in science of pure chemistry, not what? Pharmacy. But around 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, now the distinction between the alchemy and medicinal chemistry were somehow not clear. But by the end of 19th century, pure scientific established their own Royal Society of Chemistry. And the Society of Chemistry was formed in 1841. was formed in 1841. Now, sometime in the past, they were not just they were they are called chemists. Chimist. This was of Greek origin anyway. It was of what? Greek origin. But recently, the term that is acceptable for them is chemist. 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 Because of this, you just spelling this issue. Around this took over, chemists took over around 1790. But before then, they were known as chemists. Chymist. That's Greek. Now, let us now look at chemist and druggist. We are moving now. We are moving to another level. Druggist, chemist, and the druggist. So that's where we'll start in our next class. We'll look at chemist and druggist. In our next class, we'll look at chemist and druggist. Then we'll look at pharmaceutical chemist. That's what we'll look at in where we'll start from in our next class. I don't know if you have any question to ask. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Are you sure? All right, please go through
No,
what
sir.
go through
Yes,
what
sir.
go through what you have done. I'll also send you a link lecture, so you can also watch it over again. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So any other thing concerning the
Yes,
lectures,
sir.
any other thing concerning the lectures and lecture materials, we'll discuss it in the WhatsApp group, or when we'll have our on-site lecture. All right.
Okay, sir.
What happened to the others? What happened? Only today. Find out why only you attended lecture today. Let me know.
I don't know.
All right. Thank you very much.
I, I don't know.
It's all right. I'll find out.
Yes,
Don't worry.
sir.
I'll find out. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.